Gurbani often talks about Tragun. Tragun meaning three qualities. You must have wondered, what are these three qualities? These three qualities are what the creation are made up of. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji said to us, Ek Oankar. Ek meaning there is only one. And from that one, from that formless, came Oang, came the sound. Within this vibration and sound is the three qualities which makes up the entire creation. Let's put a name to these three qualities with the help of Bhagat Kabir Ji. Rajgun, Tamgun, Satgun kahiye, eh teri sab maya. So we've got Rajogun, we've got Tamogun, and we've got Satogun. All of these three qualities have been linked with the deity from the older scriptures and texts. So let's have a look at which deities have been linked with these three qualities. So with the Rajogun, it's been Brahma. And then with Satogun, it's Vishnu. And with Tamogun, it's Shiva. And that just helps us to create these characters linked with these qualities for us to be able to remember it better. So let's take a look at Rajogun. Rajogun represents the creative power, or we can say it represents action, movement. So how does that relate to us? So how can we relate to that in our lives? So because there is Rajogun inside of us, we're able to do whatever it is that we do in life. Our drive, our desires, all comes from the energy of Rajogun. If that didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to get out of bed. We wouldn't even make it to the sink to brush our teeth. Never mind anything else. Anything creative. When we're in that creative mode, it all comes from Rajogun. So that's the relevance of it. Even when we look at the whole idea of birth and death, and then sustaining that life, first it comes from this creative power. So birth is linked then with Rajogun. So you can see how Rajogun is important. No matter what task we want to carry out in life, even if it's a project that we want to do, it might be a community project, whatever it is we're going to do, the drive for that comes from Rajogun. Let's take a look at Satogun. Satogun represents that sustaining ability. So now we've got this body which came from the energy of Rajogun, but now this body needs to be sustained, and that is then Satogun. Sustained through food, sustained through air that gives us oxygen. And then that is then linked with, how is that linked then with our nature? Then that is linked with, just like to sustain this body, that one that has created all these three, the Ek, is giving by nature, meaning provides this body with air so it can be sustained, provides this body with that food, and that food then it goes through the process of breaking down, becoming a part of this body, becoming blood within us, that then sustains us. In that same way, that nature of Satogun then is of a nature of being giving. So there's this perfect balance that this whole world and creation is working under. So the nature of giving comes from Satogun. And then we've got Tamogun. Tamogun is when something comes to rest. And Tamogun is that what we know as when something comes to an end, meaning death. End as how we see and how we perceive it. But it's actually this constant motion and cycle, constantly working from birth to sustain, nurture, from that then to death. And it doesn't actually, that's not really the end, because then that cycle just starts again. You think of a leaf, the cycle that the leaf goes through, and then it's this constant motion between these three that are balancing life. So let's take a look at that tamogun, the relevance for it in our life. So when this body now gets to a certain age and the energy starts to reduce and then it starts to come to a rest, anything that comes into being, think of a thought. A thought is first born, which is then said to be that rajogun. And then as we are contemplating, remaining in that thought, and then we are nurturing that thought during that period, which can help us to carry out some form of activity in life. So that then is satogun. And then that thought, when it comes to rest, meaning it stops, that can be looked at then as tamogun. So in the same way, just like this body comes to an end and then it becomes ash and it goes back to the earth, that is then referred to the tamogun energy that brings the body to that rest or to an end or death, however we want to call it. But here's now a little catch. So that sounds all fine. That sounds like that's a perfect balance that this whole world and creation is working in. Imagine having all of these perfectly balanced. So imagine now you've got some form of vehicle that works on 3 wheels, so a 3-wheeler. So those 3 wheels have to be equal and all have the same amount of air in them, for example, for that vehicle to have that perfect balance to be able to work. And in that same way, when these energies are balanced inside of us, then our life is smooth like that vehicle. Then we've got enough drive to go out and to achieve and do things, to be able to do things for ourselves, for others. So then Satogun comes in. It's not that we just got a drive to go out and earn for ourselves or to look after this body, but because then Satogun is inside of us as well, all nice and balanced, we're also then thinking of others. We're also then giving in nature as well. So I might have that drive for a project, like a langar project, to distribute food to those that may not have access to food. So that drive then initially comes from Rajogun. And then that Satogun is perfectly balanced there because that giving nature as well. And then Tamogun, it plays its part as well. Our brain doesn't go into this overdrive of things where we can't stop being in that constant drive and forget about other aspects of life. So that one drive that allows us to do that task, but then Tamogun helps us to rein in as well and to come to that place of rest as well inside of us. So there's this beautiful, perfect balance that is working inside of us. So I did say there's a catch. Guru Amar Das Ji, Padsha Ji says to us that Tehi Guni Sansar Brahma Sutta Suttya Rain Vihani. The saying that the world is Tehi Guni Sansar Brahma Sutta is asleep. In Tehi means 3, Tehi Gun. Gun means qualities. Tehi Guni Sansar Brahma, our asleep in this doubt. Sutta, our asleep. Rain Vihani, and then the saying Ran means night, the night of life. Vihani means passing. The night of life is passing them by, asleep in these 3 qualities. To be asleep in these 3 qualities means when you start to think or believe, or let's put it this way, your reality is that you are only these 3 qualities. There is nothing beyond that. There is nothing powering these. There is no connection to that one. There is no connection to that oneness. So we are consumed in the sleep of ego, in the sleep of I am. I am the giver. I am the one that has the drive, not recognizing there is anybody behind that. The light, the jyot that is behind this, that Parmeshwar, that one, feeling this individuality, that there is me, there's I am, and you are completely separate. So in that sense, we become asleep. When we are consumed then by that ego, then these three qualities become unbalanced inside of us. So let's have a look at what are some of the signs, what are some of the symptoms, as the doctors refer to it. What are some of the symptoms to look out for when we know that there's an unbalance inside of us due to the ego, due to being asleep? So let's take a look at, in the same order we looked at Rajogun first, let's take a look at Rajogun. If that becomes more predominant, so imagine, go back to that vehicle, the three-wheeler, one wheel now is of completely different size. It's oversized now, and it starts to make that vehicle completely off balance, and more of the weight is on that. So how do we know more of the weight is in the Rajogun for us now? When we can't stop, when these constant desires inside of us, andar tisna ag hai, when there's this burning fire of desires that just don't switch off, when we become completely unconscious and these desires start to consume us, and and we start to think that's what I am, not being able to stop and knowing that actually there's no balance in life. We start getting greedy for wanting more and more, we think that I'm only going to be satisfied if I have more of this, that we constantly in that survival instinct of thinking that, oh, if I've got this much food, maybe if I've got this much, then I'll be safe, or then I'll be okay, then I'll be satisfied. This constant racing mind, Guru Sahib Ji referred to that as Sahas Khata. You've reached that 1,000, you thought that was going to be enough for you and satisfy you, lakh ko uttave, but then you have another goal, which is to get to the 100,000, thinking that's going to satisfy you. Tripatana ave, maya pache pave. But Guru Sahib Ji says, Tripatana ave, maya pache pave, there's no tripati, there's no satisfaction. So then the Guru refers to this as chanchalamat. E man chanchala chutarai kine na paya. They're saying, oh my mind, you've become so chanchal. Now this mind is constantly caught up in this cleverness, thinking that, yeah, I can do it through wealth, I can do it through this. Guru Sahib Ji talk about, now you're starting to become impure. Man ka sutak lobh hai, jehva sutak kood, akhi sutak vekhana. But now your eyes, they don't come to a rest. There's that imbalance, no rest with your eyes, constantly looking at others with a lustful eye, thinking that maybe if I get this, maybe I have more of this. Akhi sutak vekhana par treya par tan roop. Tan, looking at the wealth of others. This is now, Rajogun has become so predominant inside of you. This drive doesn't stop. You can't switch off. Whatever you're doing throughout the day, whatever your work is, you come to sit in the evening to try and relax, have a meal with your family, try and sit down to meditate, read your evening prayers, do Rehra Sahib, but it still doesn't stop. It starts thinking about, oh, I should have done it that way. I could get more if I did it that way. E man chanchala. The mind becomes fickle. It doesn't come to a stop. You've now gone into this overdrive. So that are some of the symptoms of Rajogun becoming predominant. And then they will overlap as well. So don't try and make them so definitive and black and white. They will start to overlap once the imbalance is there. Let's take a look at now Tamogun. Tamogun, how do you know that has become more predominant? Physically, you'd want to sleep more. You don't ever feel satisfied with how much ever sleep you've had. You just want to have more and more. And way over, some obviously speak of 6 hours or 8 hours, but then that's not enough. You just want more and more of that sleep, constantly feeling fatigued, tired, lethargic. that drive is very dim and low as well. And then there'll be a lot of frustration. There'll be a lot of anger. The Guru talks about Kaam, Krodh, Kaya, Ko, Gale, that this Kaam from the Rajogun, this desire which was supposed to be for survival, has now become completely unconscious and has consumed us. From that, then unfulfilled desires, just racing mind will then turn into frustration and then anger, Kaam, Krodh. Kaya ko Gale, then it starts to affect the body as well. Somebody that is constantly living in this stress mode. And so I'm just going back and forth a little bit. From Rajogun, being constantly minds racing, you start to experience things like anxiety, feeling anxious. And then that can actually go into Tamogun from that extreme of anxiousness, and then even feeling low, feeling drained. And then there's anger as well. Kaya ko Gale, and it starts to affect your body. You start to have more and more diseases come up. Those diseases are then coming from that anger, high blood pressure, and whatever others that are caused by your body being in that constant high stress response. Other things of Tamogun is you'll start to then actually look down at people. Whatever other people have, you want to have that. You're willing to do whatever it takes to get that, to bring people down. You have no care for other people's feelings or anything of that sort. There is no sense of righteousness left within that mind. And that will then, when this starts to happen, you know then that Tamogun has become predominant inside of you. Looking at the other nature of these, in the Rajogun, when it hasn't gone to Tamogun, in Rajogun, it's about just self-drive to accumulate more. But you're still living quite a fair life. You're in that state of whatever's mine's mine, whatever's yours. But in Tamogun, it's more like whatever's mine's mine, but whatever's yours should be mine as well. So you can see the birthi, how it changes. When that quality is more predominant in you, you will be then attracted to Tamogun food as well. Because food has these three qualities. And certain foods have more Tamogun in them, more Satogun in them. So then Tamogun foods, how do you know it's a Tamogun food? Often it's that type of food that isn't fresh, has got low water content, has been sitting on the shelf for a long time, heavily processed, a lot of preservatives. And then when you eat that type of food, it starts to make you more lethargic instead of energize you. That's very food that was meant to nurture you. It does the complete opposite for you. And then it depends on how you make that food. You can make that food from Tamogun Birthi, from a state of Tamo where you're frustrated and angry, and then you're transferring that energy into it. So as you start to come to this realization, you will start to see that the whole world is a play of these three, and it's a play. But Guru Gobind Singh Ji didn't get consumed by that play. They said that "Main ho param purkh ko dasa, dekhan aayon jagat tamasha." I've come to watch the play of this world. I'm not consumed by it. I'm not in it in that way. I'm just watching it. How do you watch it? Watching it means when you are in that pure higher consciousness. That Guru Amar Das Ji referred to as Chautha Pad, the fourth state, which is complete consciousness. And you can watch the play of these three, and you can then consciously use these energies as and how you need to use them. Guru Amar Das Ji say, Chauthe Pad mein hai, Sahaj hai, Gurmat palle pai. In that fourth state is that Sahaj, is that equipoise, that complete balance. And then when there's that complete balance, as Guru Gobind Singh Ji did, then they would use the energy of Tamogun as well. Just as tamogun, when it's imbalanced, can become anger, but Guru Gobind Singh Ji taps into it and consciously uses it from that fourth state. That fourth state is that pure consciousness, uses it as jabe baan lagyo, tabe ros jagyo. They're able to use this warrior spirit, just like you would need to then when you're carrying out a righteous act in protecting others, helping others, saving others, protecting yourself, saving yourself from being attacked or whatever that situation may be, not letting others completely walk all over you. Sangatji, that in that way you can use that positively for yourself. So when there's an imbalance, so the imbalance could be of Satogun as well. A lot of people don't talk about this, because in Satogun, it's that higher quality of when you become so giving, caring and kind. And that's the positive part of it. Guru Sahib Ji talking about where they say to us that Pun daan ka kare sarir, so girhi Ganga ka neer. When your whole body becomes about pun, doing good for others, daan, giving to others, that's when it's in complete balance with the rest. But when it becomes imbalanced and that becomes predominant, yes, you're giving and you're doing all of these things. Number one, when you're asleep in Satogun, you're giving in this way, Hom vich ditta, Hom vich leya. You're giving with I am giving, not recognizing ek date ek pekhari ji, not recognizing that it's the one that's giving you the energy and the ability to even be in that state to give, and recognizing that oneness, but still that I am giving to you. When it becomes imbalanced, what happens is, yes, you're kind and giving, but the Guru gave us Miri and Piri, that saintlyhood and then that warriorhood as well. Being not, the imbalance is then not being able to even go into some form of righteous battle, not being able to stand up for yourself or anyone else, even if it means when somebody else's life is being put at danger or whatever it may be, because there's an imbalance, you're not able to act in that moment. You're not able to stand up or speak or do anything or take any action towards that direction. Sometimes it just means you need to speak out about something, but you're not able to, because there's an imbalance, because then that tamo, remember, all three wheels need to be perfectly balanced for this life, for us to be in Sahaj, to be in that equipoise from a conscious level, that fourth state. So Tamogun helps us not to close our eyes and be passive as well. So Sangaji, hopefully this can help us to understand these three qualities, this vast play of even the 5 elements that this creation is made out of. Different elements hold more of a certain quality inside of them, but they come together to create this perfect creation. So not to look at them as bad or good, to look at them that they're actually a perfect creation of that one. But the issue comes is when we fall asleep. Tehi guni sansar pram sutta sutya rain bihani gur kirpa te se jan jage. Guru Sahib Ji says, but with the kirpa, with the grace of the Guru, that those jan, those servants, those that become the servant of the Guru, awaken from this, and then they reach that chauthe padam hai, sahaj hai, gurmak palle paye. Those Guru-centered ones can then actually take this into their palla, take this into their joli, into their embrace, Sangatji, become conscious and live an amazing, beautiful, balanced life, and using them consciously. So now you can keep an eye out within yourselves if there's that imbalance. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sad Sangat Ji, we were just having a conversation, myself and Bhai Supreet Singh, and we just thought to set up the camera and start recording. But the conversation was along the lines of how the youth today, we're moving away from memorizing Gurbani. Because we think about, even in the past 30 years or the past 50 years, whenever somebody is going to do Kirtan, they would read the Gurbani. Their source of learning the Shabad would be from the Pothi Sahib. Their source of learning Gurbani would be when they do Saj Part or when they do a Khand Part, and they find a Shabad that really stuck out to them, and they would go and want to sing that, they would want to memorize that, they would learn about that, they would do Katha about that. And slowly from that we moved into smaller Pothiyan. Then we moved into other sources where we would just write down the few specific things and we create our own booklets. But then now, in fact, we've actually moved so far away from it, it's been difficult for young Sikhs to actually memorize Gurbani, let alone their entire Nitnem. Just one Shabad seems so difficult. Why is that? And it's something to think about. How can we integrate that aspect of memorizing Gurbani back into the Panth? And let me give you an example. And I've seen it in some of the Bujurgs, the older generation, even today. Not the youth actually, but some of the older generation that are in their 70s and 80s now. This still exists, where if you tell them where is this Shabad from, they'll know exactly where to go inside of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, go to that specific rag, go to that specific ang, and they'll just be like, oh, this is where the Shabad is. Or they'll hear the next Shabad will play, or somebody will say a different Shabad and they'll say, oh, I know where that is. They'll shift the angs and they'll go to the different ang and they'll find the Shabad. And it was almost like, in a way, they have Gurbani memorized. And it's actually, in fact, not out of the ordinary for Gursikhs from the times of, in the early 1900s or the 1800s. You know, like Akali Baba Kaur Singh Ji, Akali Baba Phula Singh Ji. They had all of Guru Granth Sahib Ji and all of Sri Dasam Granth Sahib Jabani, like memorized off of their tongue. And that was an ordinary. Then, you can look a little bit later and people would have at least Panj Granthi memorized. That's a norm. And even when we were growing up, I remember we were 10 years old, and if one of the kids wouldn't have Anand Sahib memorized, or we wouldn't have Anand Sahib memorized, or we wouldn't have, Jap Sahib memorized, the kids at the Gurdwara, we would make fun of each other. And I'm not saying you should be making fun of each other, but I just want you to understand what the environment was like. Oh, you don't have an Anand here? Oh, get out of here, go memorize it. Oh, why don't you have it memorized? Which party do you mess up on? These were the conversations. We had Gurbani Kant Mukable, competitions. I know they're still going on today, but there's a reason. What I'm trying to get at is, why are we struggling so much just to say we struggle with our net name? And as soon as you say the forbidden words, Jap Sahib, people go crazy. Oh, no, I can never memorize that. It's actually not that difficult. And because we're moving away from actually reading Gurbani from the Pothis, sure, we go into our app where you want to find out a Shabad, then you want to read a Shabad, you want to do Kirtan of a Shabad today, guess what, where you learn? You go onto YouTube, you find a Shabad that you like, and you just literally listen to it and you copy it. But instead, you're not reading the Pothi anymore, you're not doing a Saj Part anymore. So therefore, your understanding of the layout and even the structure of Gurbani isn't there anymore in some of the new generation. That's why it's so important to actually dive deep and read Gurbani, read your Nithanim from a Gutka Sahib, it'll help you memorize it. Read Saj Part from an actual Pothi Sahib rather than the electronic words that sometimes we see on apps. Again, don't get me wrong, apps have been great, they've been great resources, they've allowed us to get that prachar out there. And even myself, I'm guilty. If I want to know a Shabad while I'm walking around here, or if I'm at home, what's the easiest way? You quickly open your app and you search the Shabad and you bring it out. In fact, I've actually seen people training the youth not to go into a Pothi Sahib and find a Shabad. There's training to how to search a Shabad on, for example, Sikhi to the Max or I Gurbani. Again, these resources are amazing, and they're going to continue to be a great resource for the Panth. But then we've kind of excluded the actual Pothi, the Granth. So Bhai Sahib Ji, we were just having a conversation about that, and seeing that, what could we kind of do and what kind of message do we send out with this sort of habits that we see kind of being built amongst the new generation? I know Bhai Supreet Singh ji, they also do katha here in the New York area. They also teach Santhya. And so even Das, myself, we've been teaching Santhya for quite a few years now. And we share a lot of students as well. But something that we notice is that Gurbani memorization aspect is being lost, where I've seen generations, even generations, a few people that are older than me, 10 years older than me, to say, oh, we hear Gurbani, but it doesn't really stick to us. Whereas Gurbani should be, you hear the Pankti, and that's it, you know the memorize. I think one aspect could be like, we rely so much on just English translations. Hanji? So ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ, like, you know, feel free, just ਆਪਾਂ ਖੁੱਲੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ. Hanji.
But so you brought up a great point. Okay, we really rely on the English translation so much that it's taking us away from that core aspect of how to memorize Gurbani.
Yep.
You know, one of the ways that Das sees that I can memorize Gurbani is when I look at the pad arts of the Shabad. So, like for example, we were just talking about this with the Sangat, and we were saying from Bhagat Bani, Bhagat Kabir Ji Bani, chak ke na raho, chhad ke na asa. You know, and the memorization of the Pankti just came sadji, just by understanding what chak means, what chhad means, what as means. So I think what Vidyarthis or what the Sangat can attempt to do is try to learn the pad arts from a Gyani Singh, from a Ustad, and by learning the pad arts, building their vocabulary, they can then attempt to easily memorize Gurbani. It won't be such a process of struggling anymore. It'll be a very natural flow, because something you understand, something you just understand from a very scholarly level, from a vocabulary level, it'll be easier to have in your mind.
Yeah, it definitely. Jadi, you know, one thing to add on to that is, when you speak the language of Gurbani, that becomes the way you converse, the way you communicate. In fact, you can speak to the Guru in that conversation. And the problem is when you rely on just an English translation. Again, I always say this, don't get me wrong, and whenever you say one thing, there's always multiple aspects to it. The resources are great, and the scholars that have put them together are done. We've been using those resources our entire life as well. But when you rely on just that, and you don't actually communicate with the Gurbani itself, you communicate through the translation, and then you lose aspects of that. And you fail to memorize. You might know the concept. Oh, somewhere in Gurbani it says this. Where in Gurbani does it say that? What is the line? What is the Pankti? What is the word? What is the Shabad? Who is the writer of that Shabad? What rag is it in? Was it a Shand? Was it a Slok? Was it a Paudi? So we have to know these elements of Gurbani rather than just us, you know. Sometimes we get messages on Instagram and emails. Where in Gurbani does Gurbani talk about this? Of course we'll answer that, and we discuss that. That's what our YouTube channel and our conversation and our prachar is all about, is to get that message out easily. But if we just rely on that, then we miss that aspect of just reading Gurbani and not even needing the translations. You read your Nityanem and you end up reading your Nityanem as if Gurbani is speaking to you. And something we actually talked about last night in Katha as well, is that, you know, Gurbani in itself is like a mirror. It's a reflection of yourself. When you look into a worldly mirror, you look into a mirror and you see your own body. You see in your own eyes and nose and your ears, and that shows you what you are on the outside. Well, Gurbani is showing you your true form. But your mind comes in between, and when Gurbani shows you this is your Atma, if Gurbani is Turki Bani Yaitin Sagali Chintamutai, is coming from the absolute root, and your true form is the form of Jot, is the form of Atma, is omnipresent Vaheguru, then you yourself and your conversation is, your inner voice is coming from that same Tur, but your mind comes in between. When the Gurbani shows you that mirror and you look deep within yourself, and by looking deep within yourself, Gurbani says, this is what you are. You know, you might, there might be a lot of filth, there might be wavering mind, there might be a lot of dukh, and it might be a lot of illusion. But then your mind comes in between and says, well, I have my own opinion about that. That mind is not allowing you to show you your true form. Man ne hi wo asal gal samjhni nahi hai. But in order to teach your mind that Gurbani is also the path, And Gurbani plays that aspect where it becomes the sab and the soap to scrub away at that filth, to be able to reach you. It is the mirror, it is the path, it is the teaching. So when you read Gurbani and you say the actual word and you say in Gurbani out of your own heart, you say Ham andale and bikhay bikarati kyon challa gur challi, and you speak this from your heart and you say it with bhavna, and you say the actual panktiyan while you're knowing what it means. You could be walking, talking, doing whatever is in your mind. It hits different. And it's not even an aspect of memorizing, is it?
Oh,
It's like
at that point it's medicine.
Yeah, it's medicine. You've taken it and it's just there with you.
Yeah.
And you want to build yourself to that level where Gurbani becomes your conversation.
Right.
Where you're bola Gurbani Ram, you're speaking Gurbani, you're talking Gurbani, har nawe naal gallan, har nawe naal masalat. Your Gurbani is your masti. It is your, in England they say banter. What do we say here in America? We say, like, that is our slang talk, is just our argument or back and forth. Our conversation is Gurbani.
Right.
When Gursikhs sit down, guess what we talk about? We didn't even realize it. Chalo, one aspect, as Bhai Supreet Singh, they've done a lot of sangat of Gursikhs and Ustads, and they've been learning for many years now. We've known each other since we were young, and we by spending this time with these like saints or scholars or Gursikhs, and some of them aren't even well known. They're just their jivan, their life aspect is such. What do they speak about? Like ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਿਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਆ? When you hear them talk, they might not be quoting Gurbani,
Yes.
but everything that they say is essentially Gurbani, right?
Yeah.
Right? They might not be saying pankti or here this quotes this or referencing this. They don't say that, but everything that they say is essentially is the Guru talking. You know?
That's right.
And Guru Sahib says कि गुरसिक्खां अंदर सतगुर वरता है. You want to be able to build that, like ek Gurbani again. As I'm thinking of this process, panktiyan just come to your mind. The lines of Gurbani come to your mind, and Sadgur ki bani sat sarup hai, Gurbani bani hai. Right. So the form of Gurbani is the absolute truth, and the Guru's form is Gurbani, as the form of truth, and you want to become the form of Gurbani.
That's right.
And by your talking, your thinking, your aspect, again, I know sometimes in the world, people might say religion is just a philosophy, or Sikhi is just a philosophy. This is why sometimes we tend to not use the word ism. Ism means like ideology, so that's why we refer to Sikhi as it's the Guru Sikhi. It's not like an ideology out there that's just an Sikh or ism.
Right.
That's why Gurbani is not something you believe in. It's practical, but it is a belief. It changes your thought. It shows your path. It is the path, but then it becomes your path and it removes you. It's the thing that detaches you. It's your liberator as well. So it's kind of encompassing so many things. I can't even find the right words to put towards it.
Right.
That's what we say in Gurbani. Vaho vaho bani nirangare tudh jevada avarna koi. That there's no one equivalent to that. And the more Gurbani that you read, essentially, and a question that comes up all the time is like, how do we memorize Gurbani? The more we read it, or we're struggling to understand it, like, Bhai Sahib ji, give some of your advice.
Bhai Sahib ji, एक गल तुसी बहुत वधिया कही सी. I just want to go back to that point.
Yeah.
We always often ask, what ardas can I make? What ardas can I make? I'm feeling this way. What explains my heart? है ना? The Gurbani kind of goes back to that topic. Is that if you can look at shabads, or you just go through Gurbani, you doing Saj part, whether Hukanama, you find shabads that relate to how you feel. What's the best ardas to make is that ardas is already written in Gurbani. But Gurbani is a form of so many ardasas. Sagal dwar ko chhad ke gihyo tawaro dwar. It's that feeling, that of that a Gursikh has, Guru has written out in words for you. You can use that words, and then that becomes your mechanism to like memorizing Gurbani. एक बहुत प्रचलित सिक्ख्या गया like Gursikh शेर एक जो बानी कंठ पैसा गंठ. In the old days, they used to have pockets in here, inside your button right here. This gant. So if you have your bani kant in your kant, it's like having money in your gant. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਕਿ ਇਹ 'ਚੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ that you are always complete if you're bani kant. You're complete. You're not surviving on a phone. You're not surviving on anything else. If your name is in your kant, you can walk with Guru Sahib day in and day out. You can do your soda, you can do your Amrit Wala, everything independently. Sikhs Bana is a full one-man army. He has his Hadoodiya and his Kamar Kasa. Even we were saying the Singhs carry the Kashara, second Kashara in their Kamar Kasa. Right. A one-man army. They have their towel, they have their Kashara for next wear. It's amazing what Guru Sahib has given us, a complete package. So when different situations come in our life, I understand those situations are the vehicle we can use to memorize Gurbani. ਭਾਵੇਂ ਕੋਈ ਦੁੱਖ ਆ ਜੇ ਹਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਕਲੇਸ਼ ਆ ਜੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ some kind of like very hard times ਕੋਈ ਬਿਪਤਾ ਪੈ ਜੇ ਹਨਾ in those times we go to our guru, that's for sure. We go to our guru. But in what way are we going to our guru? You know, the best way I found is like hukanama. When hukanama Guru Sahib describes your heart, wo hukanama yaad kar lo, can't kar lo that hukanama. Because now day in day out, when that feeling comes to your heart, that pain comes in, you can sing that hukanam, because within that hukanam there will be ardas somewhere. You know, these are the last two panktis, the rahawati pankti, somewhere will be ardas that you can use as your medicine.
And one of the things to see gal kar rahe hain na, like with Gurbani, is without Gurbani being memorized, you're not a Sawa Lakh army. Your battery dies. Yeah. You can't find a charger. And you know, Gursikh Singhs talk about it all the time. Oh, we want to live in the jungles, we want to experience that. We have to memorize Gurbani while you're there as well. You won't find a phone charger. You have to have your Nityanem memorized. And you have to have, like for example, what would happen if we don't have access to Guru Granth Sahib Ji Swaroop? Or Gursikhs there today that have all of Guru Granth Sahib Ji memorized. And you might be thinking, well, that's a crazy thing to say. That's actually not that extraordinary. We should all be striving to, all of us, both of us included, we should be striving to memorize essentially all of Guru Sahib Ji, all of Gurbani, that if we were ever in a situation that we wanted to write down all of Gurbani, that we could, right? Instead of, we can preserve it, but the true place to preserve is in here, apne hirde vich. That's all the other practical matters will be there. And ek aur cheez, there's I'm going to reference Sikhan di Bhagtmala of Bhai Mani Singh Ji Shaheed, and they talk about Gurbani actually speaking to every aspect or every, you can say, jurisdiction of Gursikhs, because Gursikhs come in all levels. Not everyone is the most enlightened saint, and not everyone is at the beginning level either. Some are beginning stages, some are there in the devotion stages, and some are there at the enlightenment stages. So they split these into 3 different sections. One is those that are just focusing on their karma, their action. So that might just be trying to still focus on their maryada, trying to find and discipline themselves, how to eat, how to sleep, how to wake up. You join a military, an army, what's the first thing that they teach you? They're not going to teach you the inner code and strategy. No, the first thing they teach you is, can you pack your own bed? Can you make your bed? Hospital corners. Can you load and unload your gear? Can you walk properly? Can you speak to your seniors properly? All of that maryada is taught first, right? So we discipline our mind in the practical way. What are we listening to? What are we talking to? And what are we doing? And so that's why at the beginning stages, there's a lot of questions of, should we be doing this or should we not be doing this? And those are valid questions. Those are things that need to be answered and need to be discussed. You can't just say, your actions don't matter. No, they do. Your actions are what make up your karma. They make up your destiny. They make up your karma. They make up your mind. They lead to what you think about, what are you receiving through your senses, or what are you outputting into the world, in that sort of way. So they speak about the Gursikhs that are just focusing on their karma. And Guru Sahib speaks to the karma as well. They say, Mere mohon sarvani ena sunaye, sakat geet na tun gavat bolat bol ajay. That listen to this and don't listen to this. Guru Sahib Ji says that, you should be focusing on eating this and not focusing on eating this. You should be, pehle parbat hai, ut, wake up in the morning, gur satgur ka jo sikh kaye, pal ke uthar naam te aave. You want to wake up early in the morning and be able to do Ishnan and do Simran. Udum kare pal ke parbati, Ishnan kare Amritsar na aave. So Guru Sahib is saying you want to be able to do wake up in the morning and Ishnan as well. These are practical aspects of code of conduct. So Guru Sahib is speaking to the karma aspect there as well. Then Guru Sahib Ji Bhai Mani Singh Ji Shaheed explains that they focus on the devotional aspect. Well, this is where we call out to the Guru, Tu mero pyaro, ta kaisi pukha, tu man vasya, lagana dukha. That's why we don't experience pain or dukh or that sort of thirst anymore. So when you're in the state of bliss, you're fully speaking to devotion. You're saying to the Guru, Tum thakaro, bairagaro. You're praising the Guru. You're bowing down to the Guru. You're singing your praises. You're just like a rainbird calls out to the rain cloud. A sunbird calls out to the sun. All these analogies are used. So that's why that's devotion. And Gurbani speaks to your devotion, your emotional heart. When you're in pain, you're in pleasure, and you connect with the Guru as well. And then there's the rare aspects where Guru Sahib Ji speaks just about Gyan and enlightenment and spirituality. And this is where they'll speak about tum karta tu hua muj mein raha na hu jab apa par ka mit gaya jat dikha tat tu. They'll speak about that losing of ego, absorbing yourself in Paramatma, whether your homemade does not exist anymore. And that aspect is there as well. Through the karma, through the devotion, in reaching to that stage. So you see, Gurbani speaks to all of these aspects. So depending on what stage you're at, Gurbani literally becomes what you do and what you talk and put your mind through Gurbani. Gurbani becomes your conversation. And then how does Gurbani not get memorized in that stage? You'll have panktiyan, lines, Gurbani, it literally has to be there instilled. Like you have to put it into the pot, and then it'll begin to steam up, right? So that's why Gurbani and memorizing it is so important. I would suggest start with one line a day. Just literally pick a shabad and memorize one line a day. If you can manage that, then go on to 2 lines. Then eventually build up to so you can memorize a shabad a day. Shabad is what? Sometimes it's 5 lines. Sometimes it's 7 lines. So memorize a pauri or a shabad a day. And in 30 days, guess what? You'll have 30 shabads memorized. And 30 shabads, or within 40 days, guess what? You have all of Japji Sahib memorized now. And then Jap Sahib, then Tua Prasad Swaya, Anand Sahib. You have all of Nitane memorized, move on. Start memorizing Siri Rag, start memorizing Asa Diwar, start memorizing Sukhmani Sahib, start memorizing Panj Granthi, Bayuvara, Pagdandi Bani, memorize difficult shabads. Yak Arz Guftum Pesto, Dargos Kun Karta. Start memorizing these difficult words and these vocabulary as well. So, Ede Barit Pai Sahib Ji. Sorry.
You brought up a great point up about the hard, difficult shabads. You know, and this is something that's really I see as a really good system within in the Santhya way of learning Gurbani, is that there are some shabads that are mandatory for Vidyarthi to have kant.
Yes, there's mandatory shabads.
Mandatory shabads.
When you begin learning, these shabads are the shabads that essentially they become your building blocks.
Yes.
Right? So one of them is Siri Jayadev Jiva Ka Pada. Right? So that shabad in itself is difficult. It's a tongue twister. It has different languages as Farsi, Arabi, and languages inside of it. But when you memorize that, reading other shabads might be a lot easier, right?
So those memorization of those hard shabads, the main is a lot. It's a lot of hard work. But ਜੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੇ ਦਸਾਂ ਨਵਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਤ ਕਰੀਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਘਰ ਕੇ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ਾਦ ਦੀ ਸਵਾਦ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ they have these adar now they have these sikhya from the sansar that we can use. When you work a really hard job, you work with your hands, you come home, you eat that prashada has amrit ras flowing from it. And the same way Gurbani, the shabads are very hard, like Pai have said, from Rag Talang. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, this is another shabad that Guru Sikh memorizes. You know, and when you memorize a shabad, ora ras sagani vakhra anda fir. You know, mehnat badi lagdi hai. It takes hours and hours on end memorizing those type of shabads. But when you get it down, the anand from it's vakhra as well.
Definitely. Aad purkh manopamang sat aad pavratam. That's Sri Jayadev Jiva Ka Pada. And we memorized this when we were about 8 years old, 10 years old. But you don't forget them. Why? Because even though you might not be reciting it every single day, but at that time, sure it was difficult, but the fruit of it is absolutely different. And especially the resources that you guys have today, when you're young or you're in school, you're in university, before you get busier in life, you have the opportunity, you have the resources of the internet today. Listen to Kirtan all day. The more Kirtan you listen to, the more shabads you'll memorize. The more katha you listen to, the more shabads you'll memorize. The more you read, the more you'll memorize. Indulge in those conversations more, and guess what? Your mind will pick up that more naturally instead of the other things. It depends on what you're feeding yourself. So, Guru Pyareo, this was our small little benti to the entire Sangat to focus on memorizing Gurbani and know exactly where you are in Gurbani. Go back to the Pothi Sahibs, memorize Gurbani, listen to it. Don't just rely on these other resources that we have, because sometimes these tend to not ingrain inside of your mind, ingrain inside of your heart in that same way. Great thank you to Pai Supreet Singh. Pai Supreet Singh, actually, they have been doing katha with us. Everything's 13 Basics of Sikhi in New York for many years now. And they've had a few videos on our North America pages as well. So that's why, bahut bahut dhanwad Pai Supreet Singh ji, and Maharaj Kirpa Karan, we can ral mil ke with the Guru di Sangat's support, we can continue doing this seva. So Guru Pyari Saad Sangh ji, inniyan bentiyan parwan karniyan, bhulan chikan di khima. Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh.
What does the word miracle actually mean? Maybe I should just Google it. An extraordinary and welcome event that is not explainable by natural or scientific laws and is therefore attributed to a divine agency. But do Sikhs even believe in miracles? Well, everyone always says no. Yeah, like it's forbidden. Well, let's see if we can find out what miracles Siddhi Guru Nanak Ji performed then. Great idea. Many people in today's world do not believe in miracles and they think it's all nonsense. If it doesn't make sense logically, then it couldn't have happened. But in today's video, we're going to show you guys 5 miracles performed by Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and make sure you stick around for the last one, you'll be really surprised. Miracle 1, Gandha Sahib. When it was the time of Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji's wedding, the general tradition of the time was that the couple would walk on the fire 7 times. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji refused this and said that I'm going to walk around Gurbani 4 times. When the priests heard about this, they became so enraged and plotted to kill Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji. How? By pushing an unstable wall over the Guru. An elderly lady warned Guru Nanak Dev Ji about this plan, but the Guru said to them, this wall will never fall and it will be a sign of our wedding for the future. No matter how hard the priests tried to push the wall, it did not fall on Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Until this day, you can see that wall still standing at Gurdwara Gandha Sahib. Miracle 2, Panja Sahib. As we know, Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji travelled the whole world praising Waheguru Ji. And in a village in Pakistan today, when Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji visited that place, it has such a profound effect with their kirtan. At the same time, Wali Kandari was somebody of high status who lived in that village at the top of the mountain. And he had control of all the water that flowed into the village. Upon seeing everybody gather around Guruji and not him, he became very jealous and angry and decided to restrict the water flowing into the village. When Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji sent Bhai Maradana Ji to the top of the mountain to get some water, Wali Kandari refused Bhai Maradana Ji the water and said, why don't you ask the person that you're travelling with to give you that water, speaking about Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Bhai Maradana Ji went and told Guru Nanak Dev Ji what Wali Kandari said, and Guruji told Bhai Maradana Ji that rock that is on the floor, move that and water will come out itself. So Bhai Maradana Ji moved the rock, water came gushing out of the floor, and all that water at the top of the mountain dried up. Wali Kandari was fuming, so he grabbed a massive boulder and pushed it down the mountain towards Guruji and the Sikhs. All the Sikhs hid behind Guruji, who stood up in front of the boulder and put their hand out to stop the boulder. Not only did Guruji stop that massive boulder, but because of the sheer speed and force it was travelling at, Guruji's hand actually left an imprint in the boulder. So today when we go to Siddhi Panja Sahib, we can see that same boulder and we can see Guruji's imprint in there as well. Miracle 3, disappearing into the river for 3 days. Whilst the Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Ji lived in Siddhi Sultanpur Sahib, the daily routine was to wake up in the morning, brush their teeth and bathe in the local river. However, one day when Guruji fully submerged himself into the water, they never came back out. And everyone in the village thought that the Guru had drowned, when in fact, Guruji went to Sachkhand, where they met Vaheguruji, and Vaheguruji gave them this mission, this hukum, this order, that
that now you're going to quit your job and you're going to go around the whole world and spread the message of Sikhi. After 3 days, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji re-emerged from the river, and in their own writings they speak about this experience. And they say, Ho tadi vekar kare laya, that I was an unemployed singer, Raat dehe ke vaad turho farmaya, and Vaheguru told me that now I'm going to go around the whole this world and day and night to sing their praises. Tadi sache mahla khasm bulaya, that Qasim Vaheguru Ji called me to them court themselves. So in this miracle, Guru Sahib Ji not only disappeared for 3 days, but when re-emerging, it marked a key point in their life where they started to now spread the message of Sikhi to the entire world. Miracle 4, traveling to different galaxies and planets. When Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to Baghdad, they sang the famous words, Patala Patal Lakh Agasa Agas, which very simply means is many planets, many galaxies or heavens and hells. When one of the bypassers heard this, he became so annoyed, thinking the Guru is speaking against his faith, he was from the Islamic faith, but also because the Guru was singing as well. So what did he do? He went and told the local priest, who was called Peer Dastagir, and he was angry as well. So he told all the villagers, grab rocks, grab stones, and go and attack Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. When the whole of the village came to attack the Guru saw this and said the following words, Nirankar Sat Sri Akala Gurbar Ekankar Kirpala. When Guruji said these words, all the villagers froze in their place and they went into a trance. They were unable to attack the Guru, and all the rocks and stones fell on the floor. Upon seeing this, Peer Dastagir came in front of the Guru and questioned them about what they had been singing. Guruji made it very clear that the Prophet was not lying, because they only saw 7 heavens and 7 hells. That was their truth. However, that is not the complete truth, because Vaheguru's creation is so vast and there's countless heavens and countless hells. Peer Dastagir still didn't believe the Guru, so Guruji took Peer Dastagir's son and then disappeared and went to all the different galaxies and planets and showed them all the heavens and hells. Whoa, disappeared to different planets? What's this all about? Oh, you again? This happens all the time. Whenever we share historical references, people always doubt what we have to say. But what we share with you guys right now is the writings of Bhai Gurdas Ji. Bhai Gurdas is not only related to the Gurus, but the first scribe of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And his own writings are seen as the key to understanding Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So if you look at the writings of Bhai Gurdas Ji, the first thing that they say about this story about Guru Sahib Ji going to Baghdad, they say, Ethe vich Baghdad de vadi karamat dikhalai. They say here in Baghdad, vadi karamat dikhalai, the Guru showed a huge miracle. Now we can't mess around with that translation, it's very clear, very simple Punjabi. Vadi means very big, karamat means miracle, dikhalai means to show. The Guru showed a very big miracle. So again, at the start of this video, talked about miracles. Bhai Gurdas Ji saying themselves that the Guru showed a big miracle. And then later in Bhai Gurdas Ji's writings, they say Nal Lita Beta Pirda. That then they took the son of Peer Dastagir, Akhi Meet, and they closed their eyes, Gaya Hawaii, and they disappeared into the air. So where did they go? They went and saw all these different planets, heavens and hells, and as proof, Guruji went to a Sad Sangat, holy company in a different planet, and they brought back Prashad to this earth, which again is written by Bhai Gurdas Ji. So when they reappeared, the son told their father that this is completely true and we've just been to all these different planets, and it's also written by Bhai Gurdas Ji, and that is miracle number 4. Number 5, Sikhi in itself is a miracle. So we just shared with you guys 4 specific miracles performed by Guruji. If we look in Gurbani, Guruji says to us, Navnidhi, Athar hai Siddhi, Pichhe lagya fir hai, Jo har hirday, Sada vasai. Which very simply means that miracles, miraculous powers, chase after that one who has God's name inside their heart. So the purpose of this video was to first demystify the idea that there's no such things as miracles. And we've seen that through the examples we've given, but also the writings of Bhai Gurdas Ji and this shabd we just shared with you guys right now. But also that our gurus were against miracles. However, if the Guru ever did perform a miracle, it was never out of ego, out of pride, or for personal fame. It was only to join somebody back to Vaheguruji. So, coming back to Miracle 5, we've been on a journey for millions of years looking to become one with Vaheguruji. And it's through Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji's teachings this can be achieved. And a very famous line which illustrates the magnificence, the beauty of Guruji is where they say Tare gine jata hain, which means that we can count the million stars in the sky, but tare na ganata hai, when able to count the millions of people that Guruji has carried across and saved. So millions of people in the past, even to this present moment right now, are being saved by Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and that in itself is a very beautiful miracle. And an extra bonus miracle for you guys is Guru Ka Langar, which was started by Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji over 500 years ago. And in this present day, that Guru Ka Langar is served over the entire world, where millions of people are given a free meal every single day. So that brings us to the end of this video. 5 miracles performed by Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Miracle 1, Gandha Sahib. Miracle 2, Panja Sahib. Miracle 3, disappearing into the river for 3 days. Miracle 4, different galaxies, planets, heavens and hells. And finally miracle 5, that Sikhi in itself is a miracle. And just to reiterate, the aim of this video was first to demystify the idea that miracles don't exist in Sikhi and that our gurus were against it. However, the Sikh never chases after miracles. The one who has God's name inside their heart, miracles always chase after them. So please forgive the mistakes made in this video. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure you like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Today, Satsanga Ji, we are filled with so many doubts. This is Kal Yug Da Sama. We just have so many doubts. But the reason why we have doubts is because we hang around with people that have so many doubts. Isse tarah, Satsanga Ji, don't do Sangat of those people that are filled with Shanka. Do Sangat of those who have Sharda. Hon dekho ji, if you look in Afghanistan and the halat there, what's happening with the Taliban and all these things, and now the Guru Sikhs, they are struggling a lot. So if you read the itihas of the Sangat of Afghanistan, Guru Nanak Dev Ji went pedal hoke, they went all to Afghanistan. Look how far they went. They saw the Sangat of Afghanistan still has a lot of Sharda. They likhya hai saas in the itihas de vich that when they used to do Ardas, Guru Sahib di Hazuri de vich, hon asi kirpan de naal, as we do pog kirpan de naal. We use a sword, right? A little kirpan, and we do pog with the kirpan. But the Satsanga Ji, not only a few centuries ago, 100 years ago, when they would do pog in Guru Sahib's Hazuri, they wouldn't use a kirpan. Because they had a sharda that Tan Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj Ji is here themselves. Aap hazir han is Hazuri de vich. The Satsanga Ji, when they would say to Guru Sahib Ji, Aap ji kirpa karo te pog lao, us waqt Satsanga Ji, when they lift the chitti chadar up, there was a nishani of Guru Sahib Ji's heart, their hast in the deg. Panja. That we had the Sakhi of Panja Sahib. You can read it to Haas. I can give you the reference of it afterwards. And they say there was a nishani of Guru Sahib Ji's Pavitra Hast in the Kara Prashadi Deg. Look at the Sharda. And when there was not the nishani, they realized there was a vigan in the Maryada. They did something wrong in the Maryada of making the Deg. So then they'll make the Deg again. And they do Ardas again with full Maryada. Jo Deg di Maryada hai Satsanga Ji. We all know the Maryada, how you make prasad with kyo, etc. Japji Sada Path Padke Adak. They Satsanga Ji, and they find this nishani of Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj Ji in that deg. Even many years after Guru Nanak Dev Ji left their physical body, look at the Sharda that Guru Sikhs have of the Guru. All over the world, not just in India, nor in the UK, in these different remote countries as well, where the Sangat is not many, look at the Sharda that these Guru Sikhs have. Hanji.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Our values embody service before self. And this can be neatly defined by the Hindu word seva, which can mean service, commitment, and dedication to others. Ensuring the best interests of our country come first is what drives me each and every day. That is my responsibility, and that is my service, and that is our party.
That seva is what? It's not volunteer work. If you're trying to do volunteer and try to get hours out of it, it's still good, you're serving, but it's a selfless service. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਹੋਂ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹਾਂਜੀ a lot of times nowadays, even like UK ministers, what is her name, Preeti Patel, she was saying like, our party does stuff for and it's we do seva. That's not seva. A political party has an agenda. You want votes, especially that one, Anji, when you're connecting it with things that are not really serving ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੁੱਖ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ Anji. People are being put into pain. You're trying to send citizens out from the country and get them hanged. You're trying to kick people out of their houses and all of this kind of stuff. And then your alliances with different political parties, that's an agenda. And I'm sure the rest of the Sangat knows a lot more about it. That cannot be considered true seva. Asal seva ki hundi hai? सेवा ओ हुंदी है सेवा करत होए नह कामे तिसको होत प्राप्त स्वामी दैट इज ट्रू सेवा ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਗਣਾਈ ਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ you cannot say I did seva and therefore I deserve this ਨਹੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਕੇ you have to leave your mind behind ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ that's it has to be selfless the act before during after must be selfless around that ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣਾ ਏਜੰਡਾ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਪਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਸਮਾਜ ਦੀ ਆ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ it's not really ਸੇਵਾ there's agendas behind it ਫਿਰ ਪੁੱਤ ਕਥਾ ਸੁਣਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਸੁਣਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਕਿ ਸੇਵਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਕੀ ਆ ਹਾਂਜੀ when we look into the lives of ਭਾਈ ਕਨਈਆ ਜੀ and the entire panth knows this the ਸਾਖੀਆਂ of ਭਾਈ ਕਨਈਆ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ completely selfless. It's only when people found out that this person is doing seva and people question that seva. You might be thinking, well, in a battle, you have to have an agenda. It's one army against another army. No agendas at all. If you're serving, if you're doing seva, it's not going to be of the world. You could be selflessly serving your political party. You could be selflessly serving your friends. And usually when it comes to like things where economics are involved, where there's links to different policies and there's almost trade deals going on, there's no way a trade deal is selfless. If you're making a trade, you're gaining something out of it. So when there's a trade deal and you gain something, that becomes selfish. It's not selfless. Selfless is dena, when you just give and you don't even think about getting anything in return. In fact, Hindu word is not even actually a thing. Hindi is a language, Sanskrit is a language, Sindhi is a language. The concept or daya, like who does compassion belong to? You can't claim compassion. You can't say compassion is our concept. No, these are universal concepts. You can't claim dibs on that. And you can't say, I call dibs on being compassionate. And only we can do it. And we are the ones that introduced it into the world. And how does Paramatma introduce seva, daya, compassion, love, mercy, forgiveness, all of these things? How do they get introduced into the world? Through the bhagats, through the saints.